First and foremost, we've done a lot of contact tracing. Somebody said to me a week ago, 2 weeks ago, boy, the COVID numbers, are you not putting them up on the website anymore? And my heart sunk because I knew we had several really good weeks, and then the odds caught up with us this week. Look, what I've learned and what, I'm very proud of the team, because when we have a COVID case, it's not one or two people making a decision. It's a number of people, 6 to 8 people investigating, asking questions, working with the health department. We did have a situation at the high school, and look, I'm not here to judge, and I'm not here to lecture you, but we do know that there were some gatherings outside of school. And there was a pattern then of several cases of COVID that could be linked directly to gatherings outside of school. We talked to the police, social host law, we support it wholeheartedly, but the biggest problem is, if you see neighbors who are having gatherings, whether they're unsupervised or not, it's incumbent upon us to call 911. Because I've yet to truly see a case that I believe was spread in school. We've also had situations, and I watch the gym classes, especially with the younger kids, how they've learned to play 6 feet apart and wear their masks. That's an important lesson right now. Wear your mask, play 6 feet apart. Again, we're not here to judge, but we worked with the Department of Health. We had an uptick over in a situation over at Timber Point Elementary School, and we got the blessing today, the final blessing from the Department of Health. They said our contact tracing was good, the information we had was strong, and people need to remember, we are getting better. We do believe that by the end of April, over 7.5 million residents of Newark will be vaccinated. We're heading towards whatever that herd immunity is, but we're not there yet. Am I nervous about next week? Yes. And for the following reason: nothing nefarious, nothing sinister, but Grandma and Grandpa got vaccinated. And I'm not saying this is what happened, but remember, we ask a lot of questions in the contact tracing. Grandma and Grandpa got vaccinated, and we're so happy to see them. And maybe we let our guard down. My own situation, I love my mother to death. I'm not going to tell you how old she is, but I'm going to be 60, so she's not a kid. She hasn't seen my 2 brothers in a year. She's vaccinated. My brothers are getting vaccinated. She's really looking forward to it. We don't have grandchildren. I don't have, grandchildren. We're not going to have little ones around. It's going to be a pretty tight circle when that reunion happens. But that's not the case in all families. And we know, again, nothing sinister, nothing nefarious. People are happy to see each other. You need human contact. But please, just please be careful. Please be careful when you travel this week. We know that the restrictions are coming down, and that leads me to my next point. We are looking to end virtual instruction, what I'll call casual virtual instruction. Kids should be in school. We need kids in school. We're looking to end casual virtual instruction by May 3rd. You will be able to get a medical exemption, but you're going to have to go through the proper channels, and this will all go out on my Parent Square message tomorrow. We've sent it out several times. We need kids in school. Kids do better in school. Teachers and adults in school are role models, inspirers, and people who can help children to learn the things that they need to learn, prepare for a future. So we believe that by May 3rd, we will see changes in quarantining, changes in some of the restrictions, and we do believe that by May 3rd, on the secondary level, we are still evaluating the elementary. I'm not talking about the elementary right now. But at the secondary level, we expect all students except for medical students to be back in school where they belong May 3rd. As far as exams, I get asked this all the time, and look, you guys can tease me all you want, but I'm not a politician. I'm the superintendent of schools. I took an oath to to protect and defend the district, for lack of a better term. Testing. I've never had a problem with the opt-out movement, but I always had a question: what are you opting into? You know, you don't like the test? Make a better test. You know, as a teacher, we need to give kids milestones, mileposts. We need to give them a test so we can assess what they know. I'm okay. You don't like the test? Work together with the powers that be to change the test. You know, my problem, I'm going to say it, my problem with the opt-out was I tried to go to the bagel store on the morning of an opt-out, and it's filled with kids just hanging out. You don't like the test? Change the test. Don't just tell me we're going to run away from it. But along those lines, letters have gone out. The state's made it very clear that their tests are optional. Okay? So you look in your mirror and you make the decision. You know, I struggle I taught for 15 years. How can I help a child learn what they don't know if I don't know what they don't know? Letters went out. The testing this year, 3 to 8. ELA and Math Part 1 are going to be multiple choice. The tests have been shortened. There are no field test questions, no written responses. But again, you, the parent, will make the decision. The Regents exams, and you know, I have my issues with the 3 to 8 tests. I've spoken about it before. The Regents exam, well, was something near and dear to my heart as a teacher. It became a competitive thing because how can we prepare our kids, and kind of gave us a framework to follow. We are going to go with, we're going to call it a no harm, because what the teachers have been told, the administrators have been pushing out, we're going to encourage our kids to take the 4 Regents exams as spelled out in the letter that will go out, but we will take the higher of the 2 grades. We're going to have local final exams and the Regents, and the state has already made it clear that if the grade's not good, we don't have to put it on a transcript. You know, I take offense to when they tell me, are we going to have a hold harmless? Because I've never met a teacher, I wouldn't want somebody working in a school that would ever want to harm a child. You know, I believe in teachers, and I believe teachers inspire, and I think when you inspire someone, you want them to try to achieve. And so, again, you got the letter on the 3 to 8 testing. After vacation, we're going to be pushing information out about the Regents exams, because I'm not completely convinced, and it's only my personal opinion, that the budget process that's going on in Albany right now, it is so, let's just say, up in the air. We may see a change. Again, because it doesn't make sense to me to say, hey guys, you can take a test if you want, but you don't have to take it. That doesn't give us very clear direction. But you know, I am convinced that, you know, starting April 5th, we're going to be back 5 days a week. May 3rd, we want to shut down the virtual instruction. We will deal with the medical. We will make accommodations for them. I'm not sure what that's going to be yet until we see the numbers somewhere around the third to fourth week in April. We'll make that announcement. But testing, you got your 3 to 8 letter. Regents exams information is coming after April. But what I'm convinced of is that I think everyone should enjoy this break, be safe, be careful, wear your masks, be smart. Let's come back April 5th, and then we have a 12-week run where I believe that our teachers and aides and support staff are going to do everything they can to prepare the children for the end of the year, give them some fair and reasonable local assessments so we can gauge where they're at, and you know, hopefully our seniors will graduate, and our younger students, we will be able to, and like I said, I believe in local exams. I believe that our teachers will prepare our children and look to find out what we're going to need to do, if anything, to close any gaps next September. So that's my report for tonight, and I wish everyone a very, very happy holiday, whether it's Easter or Passover. And again, I just stress to you, after what I know about contact tracing, please be careful and don't let your guard down. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Dolan. Also, while I'm thinking about it, just for everybody at home, the school play starts on Friday, tomorrow. So starting tomorrow afternoon, you could watch the play. It's amazing. A big thank you to Mrs. Affelt, Mr. Neske, for everything they had to go through to put the play together this year. Our kids are just amazing. So it'll be the best 15 bucks that you spent this weekend. So please go on there, watch the play tomorrow. You can watch it anytime, starting tomorrow afternoon through Saturday night. So please get on, support the kids, and I'm sure you will not be disappointed. So public comments of agenda items. Anybody? No. Okay, be resolved that upon the recommendation of the Superintendent of Schools, the Board of Education approves the resignations, terminations, leaves of absence, position abolitions, employment appointments, tenure appointments, and salary changes in accordance with applicable provisions of education law and civil service law as cited in the certified personnel attachments. Can I get a motion?
Motion. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Be resolved that upon the recommendation of the Superintendent of Schools, the Board of Education approves the resignations, terminations, leaves of absence, position abolitions, employment appointments, tenure appointments, and salary changes in accordance with applicable provisions of education law and civil service law as cited in the non-certified personnel attachments. Can I get a motion?
Motion. Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Okay, consent agenda. Consent agenda items 9.1 through 9.9. Does anybody want anything removed from the consent agenda? No? Okay. Consent agenda approved. 9.10. Be resolved that upon the recommendation of the Superintendent of Schools, the Board of Education approves a new memorial scholarship named the Marge and Zulo Memorial Scholarship. Marge dedicated her life to teaching special education in East Islip for 33 years. A $500 scholarship will be offered to a graduating senior who is pursuing a career as an educator in elementary or special education. The criteria for awarding the scholarship is attached. Can I get a motion?
Motion. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much to the Margaret and Zulo family for their very generous donation. Always a great thing to start a scholarship. Be resolved that upon the recommendation of the Superintendent of Schools, the Board of Education accepts the donation from Staples of 200 individually packaged supplies, which includes 2 bottles of travel-size hand sanitizer, 1 8-ounce bottle of hand sanitizer, and 1 package of 8 pocket-sized tissues to JFK Elementary. These packages will be distributed to JFK's 5th grade students. Can I get a motion?
Motion. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, old business. Mr. Montori?
Yeah, just, again, I don't want to pick on, okay? With the bus down, with the transportation. We have a $5 billion, budget on transportation. How much do we get from the state to,
It's roughly 50% of that expenditure in the following school year.
So we get back 50% each year? Okay. All right. I didn't, that number I couldn't understand. Okay. Thank you very much. Also, under old business, I received a phone call this morning. Supposedly, and of course I don't know if it's your position, but the bathrooms supposedly at Timber Point and JFK are falling apart. Now, I don't know if it's true or not, but is there are we going to repair these bathrooms? I know we had some talk about it, but
There currently is a district-wide toilet renovation project happening throughout the district, so quite conceivably, the toilets you're speaking of are going to be replaced.
they haven't been done yet.
It's in process now.
It's in the process. Okay, thank you very much.
Bill, as part of the bond, this summer, we're going to do about 80, it's pretty aggressive undertaking, but we're going to do, I think, 80 to 90% of all the bathrooms in the elementary schools.
And they will be handicapped and everything?
Yes, they have, by law, they have to be. They're going to be changes, because currently now you have that one, like, the bathrooms at the elementary school are 60 years old. So we got our money's worth, but they have a schedule. They've actually begun work now. They're doing prep work over the weekend, over the break. We've started the locker rooms at the middle school because we learned last year we started, we were told, we were going to go July to September, but actually we started last year April 1st, and we were done in mid-August, so for the opening of school. So we've actually had a series of meetings, there's a schedule, and the elementary schools this summer are going to get a tremendous amount of attention. The bathrooms are getting, or you get new bathrooms from the bond.
Okay, thank you very much, thank you.
Any other old business?
All right, here we go. Number one, you said during your superintendent's report that we've done a lot of contact tracing. Are we having more cases? Are we seeing more cases?
Getting a little superstitious. When I listen to my colleagues in other schools, I just received a thread. I'm proud of the job we're doing. We had a little spurt, but as I said before, we became aware of 2 gatherings that were, we believe, unsupervised in the neighborhood that led to the spurt at the high school. We're not sure what happened down at Timber Point, but we know that the Department of Health looked into everything, gave us a thumbs up. But we contact trace every case we get, so the case totals are on the website. But right now, as I've said, we've yet to see one that we clearly said, wow, that was a passing in school. I know it's hard to figure out where it started. It's like trying to catch water with a fishnet. You can't really tell for sure, but in school, we're not seeing, and I don't want to jinx myself, but it's an arduous task. The administrators, it's a lot of time. The administrators, the district office and the building administrators, when a case happens, it's a tremendous amount of time and energy to try to trace it and then quarantine.
How many cases are related to sports testing?
We haven't had many off the top of my head. We've been testing now since, I guess the beginning of February, and I believe maybe 10.
And when we get a case like that, the team is quarantined, right?
Not necessarily. We've had cases where if we have multiples on it, and depending on the size of the team, but we actually contact trace within the team. And we've had occasion where we've shut the team down, and we've had occasion where we haven't. Each case takes on its own life based on contact tracing, based on when the child was last with the team. So it depends on the facts of the case.
Who pays for the testing?
We get the test from the Department of Health, and then our nurses have been, and they deserve, and nurses deserve kudos. Our nurses have been doing the testing for us.
Okay. My other question is the barriers. What's the state of the barriers? Are we continuing with them? Have we found out what's going on with these barriers, or?
At the elementary, they're affixed to the desks. And at the secondary, we've given students the option of a face shield or a barrier.
Is there any discussion about just eliminating the barrier completely?
Well, if you saw, I guess it was last Saturday, I picked up the paper at the end of my driveway, opened it up, and my heart sank because, the CDC is changing, and is it 6 feet, is it 3 feet? They said you don't need barriers, you just need masks. I know one local district, one of our neighboring districts is looking to reopen. They're not open yet full-time, but they're looking to go no barriers, just masks. The hardest part is, people can shop around for the rule that they like. We will continue with the shields for the foreseeable future and wait for direction. I keep saying this, Suffolk County Department of Health is always there for us. I can't thank them enough. Was on the phone with them this weekend, Saturday night, Sunday morning, Sunday night. They're very responsive, so they're local. We can get a human being. We don't know anybody at the CDC, and the state. The CDC and the state aren't going to answer our calls. So when the Department of Health tells us that we don't need the barriers, then we'll, make that decision. The Suffolk County Department of Health, I should say.
That's my problem with the Suffolk County Department of Health, because if we ruffle feathers, then they have the power to quarantine more kids, correct?
Excuse me?
If we ruffle their feathers, they have the power to quarantine more kids.
No, in
I mean,
fact.
I get that we have to be reasonable, but at the same time, you know, the
No,
barriers,
The-
there's no one, common sense says they don't work.
But let's circle back to the Department of Health for a minute. Had a very nice conversation with them, and they were, you know, they're getting inundated with calls also. They get calls from parents, because if we quarantine, then they want to know why.
God bless.
I can't speak for other districts, but, you know, I'm very confident in what we have at COVID court, where, again, I said, it's usually the principal and 4 or 5 administrators. We all listen. You know, it's very open. But then when we're done, we follow up with the Department of Health just to make sure nothing's changed. The indication we're getting, because it's starting to push down, that we may be seeing a changing in the quarantining, which could have an impact on how we deliver instruction virtually or when kids are quarantined. But there is talk out there, and again, we expect after, you know, the travel quarantining has changed. So, you know, we're anticipating sometime in April that we'll see a change. It could be 4 days and a test to come back, 7 days and a test to come back. There is actually something the CDC says quarantining should be 7 days and a test. But I honestly didn't know that until it was pointed out to me. You know, it's a tricky one. But eventually, as time goes on, we'll move to treating COVID like we do other diseases. You know, and I think as we believe we're going to see changes in the quarantining, and no, the Department of Health, they would not be punitive like that at all.
Okay, I just hope so. I mean, I think that, you know, over a third of the country is treating it like the flu right now. And we're still acting like it's March of last year. And these kids every day, less and less normal, I mean, more and more normal, but not normal. Like, to say that kids are, like you said in your superintendent's report, kids are learning how to play 6 feet apart, that to me is bothersome. You know, learning to play with masks is bothersome to me. Whether there's kids in other states in our own country, that's not the issue. So, I mean, the Suffolk County Department of Health needs to get its act together. That's how I feel about that.
Well, I think that, you know,
You have to get, you know, in the game.
No, they're supportive, and they're moving, I think they're moving in that direction. And it is very hard, because there are people that want to, you know, dive into the deep end of the pool, and there are people that want to, you know, kind of walk into the shallow end, and trying to keep...
And they're the ones forcing the testing, and now we're going to force testing on 12 and 13-year-olds to play sports.
Well, that, we again, hopefully, let's see how things develop over the next several weeks. And really, we're also starting to talk about next year in school, and, you know, we don't have a crystal ball, but we'd like a much, you know, we're preparing for a much more normal school year next year.
All right, my other question came up is, what's the percentage, like, when we give a local exam at the high school, what are the quarters and the percentage? You know, like, each quarter is a certain percentage of the grade. What's this local exam going to count towards as a percentage of the grade?
The directors have a meeting with the department, so that's going to vary by department and by subject, but it's going to be consistent across the board. So I don't have that. off the top of
But
my
our
head.
intention is that this local exam is a good exam.
It's going to be an exam that's going to be fair, and it's going to be based on the information that the student have been exposed to.
And from all other exams in the past, this exam actually is going to help a bunch of kids.
That's the goal.
Right, that's the goal. Like, we're going to try to help the kids. All right. I just want to make that clear, because I understood that when we've talked about it, that the local exam, we're putting that in not to punish the kids, but to help the kids, because that could have the potential of them doing better.
That's the goal, correct.
Okay.
But we know that some students will perform better in the Regents exam, possibly out of the 4 exams that we are going to offer. And if that exam, if they score better in the Regents exam, then that's a score that they'll get towards the final grade.
So when we talk about these Regents exams, we're actually, now the kids don't have to take it. So what we're saying is, instead of opting out, we would like you to opt in. Or you can opt in. We're not saying what we want them to do. Like, how are we dealing with that? I don't get that.
We're going to offer the exam as scheduled by the state.
Right. But a kid does not have to take the test.
That is entirely up to the
A
student.
kid
and
gets
family.
what happens if a kid does not take the exam? What do they get? Like, do they get something?
They will get a final, they will all take a final exam. So
Right, but for their regents, what do they get? That nothing?
they'll
This
get an
is
E for
an E
exempt,
For exempt.
correct.
So we're starting with the premise they're not in the test.
We're
they
starting with
can
the premise
opt in.
that they are going to take the test.
Okay. So they're going to opt out.
The expectation is that everyone's going to take the test as required, as typically required.
Okay. I just want to make sure. So the test is being offered.
The 4 exams are being offered: ELA, Algebra 1, Living Environment, and Earth Science. Students have.
And what's the advantage of us taking the test? Like, what's to be gained?
I think
If we're having a local exam, what's to be gained about taking a region exam?
it's being required by the Department of Education.
That what, we
Under
offer it?
Under ESSA, so we're required to offer it.
Okay. So we're doing it because
We're doing it because we're required to offer it, correct?
So there'll be no Regents diplomas this year?
That we're actually going to have Regents Diploma, and we're going to be able to offer the Mastery and the Honors designation as well. Even though students are going to be exempt, we're going to be able to utilize their final course grades depending on how they do in those grades, in those courses.
And they'll get a Regents diploma?
Absolutely. We're not going to hold the kids,
You know,
penalize the kids for that.
and Bill, to piggyback on what Paul said, in a normal year, the purpose of the Regents exam, it is a number of purposes, but it also it serves as a guide. So, you know, the students from Buffalo to Montauk have a similar experience. It's not the same, but a similar experience, and they're learning, you know, similar things. So when they go on to, you know, higher education and whatnot, there's some commonality coming out of the state of New York. I know for a fact now that if just go to our neighboring districts, the districts that touch our borders, you know, if you take the amount of time as the students have been in the physical building, which we all agree is the best way to be, very divergent minutes spent in class with a teacher, you know, not on a Zoom, not a link. So the way we have it set up, I mean, the local exam, again, I trust the teachers. They want to get a gauge on how the children did. I believe they will create fair exams, which, you know, like I've said, you don't want to run away from a challenge. It gives a child something to, you know, read and think and, you know, express. And now with the Regents, they have nothing to lose. To do the best you can. And if you don't do well on it, it's not going to count. But if a child does well on it, it would do wonders, again, for their, you know, it's a good positive thing. But it also, you know, if you give the Regents here and you give the Regents in a district where the kids are only coming in 1 day a week, which you have, or 2 days a week, which you have neighboring districts doing that, I would think it would be a different result. But when you tell a child it's not going to hurt you, but if you do a nice job, it can help you, you're teaching a child to challenge themselves. And like I said, we you know, I kind of cringe at the whole, you know, the hold harmless, because if anybody wanted to harm a child, I wouldn't want them working here, and I'd do my best to make sure they don't work here. So let's make the test a positive challenge, not the enemy.
I know, I'm just saying, well, our positive challenge is our local exam.
Wait, what?
Our positive challenge is our local exam. These classes that we're having Regents exams in, we're having local exams. That's our positive challenge. We don't have to hold water for the state of New York again.
Well,
Look what they've done to us.
They don't have to, we have to offer it. If we don't offer it, we put the district at risk. They don't
We
have to
can
show up.
offer it.
They don't have to show up.
Okay,
It's
that's
their
what I want
choice.
to make clear.
They don't, we're
have to show up.
encouraging, we're encouraging, but they certainly don't have to show up.
Mr. Manzo, I have a question. If the kids, I guess, are not going to take the Regents, is that going to affect their entry into college? How will the colleges, and I'm not talking the local ones, I'm talking out-of-state colleges, are they going to look at this in a different way now, that they took a general test?
That should not affect their college. They'll be identified as an exemption for that Regents exam. And most colleges don't really look at Regents exams as an indicator for acceptance, because a lot of states don't give Regents exams.
But it could be a factor if you passed the 4 Regents. It has to be some type of factor that these colleges look at, no?
I don't believe so.
I don't know, I'm just asking.
I don't believe so.
Okay.
All right.
Wait, I have a follow-up question.
Oh,
For the local exams, you said the department committees are meeting and they're going to make it a unilateral decision across the board. When will that be told to the students what it counts as towards the grade? Like to follow up to Bill's question.
So I know the directors met with the teachers this week during the department meetings. So I'm hoping after the break that they'll be able to provide some information to the staff, to the students and to the families.
Okay, thank you.
all right, my last one is just something that has come up, is the live streaming of these outside games. I thought originally our intention was, at least on the game field, was to have some sort of internet camera eventually installed. Is that still the, I know everyone wants all these things right away, but we're still in the process of putting this whole complex together. So that's in our future, that's in our plan?
Yeah, we actually are looking to do the same kind of program we have indoors, outdoors. It's scheduled it's scheduled to come. And I'll say this, you know, I've had a bunch of people say, yeah, we'll help, and I've actually had some parents come down and help us out and we have some equipment. We don't have people to go to every game. It would be cost prohibitive to pay someone. There are schools and school districts that are spending the money, but also we are slated to have at the complex, just like, I know there was a little bit of a stir about the scoreboards. We had the electrician here ready to do the work, so the scoreboards would be finished and signed off on, and then we got a foot of snow, and it got pushed back. Scoreboards are working. You know, we're doing the best we can to, you know, get a little, you know, but if anybody wants to help live stream the game, that's a way to get extra. We are limited.
Right, but
you
down
know.
the road, we're planning on installing something similar to what
Yeah,
we have
we
in the gym.
didn't plan on COVID.
No, I
You
know,
if
I just
COVID
wanted to
had-
make sure
if
that we're
COVID
still on
could
the
have
same
hit
page.
next year, we would have been fine.
Yeah, because I remember saying we wanted people, if they were on the train, to be able to watch their kids.
Well, I'm going to do my best to plan better for the next pandemic, I promise you.
Oh, don't get, I was being nice tonight,
I know,
too.
I'm just saying, we're
All
going to do our
right. Yeah,
best.
but he got his Irish up. He did. I'm done.
Any other old business? No. Any new business?
Under new business, I just have one question. Elementary students get quarantined. Parents are upset, you know, that it's their children, they're young. So they take them to get tested, and they test negative. But they're still quarantined for the amount of days that the CDC says, even though they are now tested negative.
Yes, and that's the Department of Health, that's not us. But that is also something that, and again, my gut is telling me in 2 to 4 weeks, we're going to see a change in that.
Okay, thank you.
That's the Suffolk County Department of Health again. Just so you know. Keeping kids out of school who are sick, or who are not sick. Oh, believe me.
Any
How
other
about
new
kids who have already been sick? How about kids who already had COVID? Are they getting into quarantine too? You're a
It's
positive test.
30 days. It's a 30-day window where you don't have to quarantine.
30 days.
30-day window, but then after the 30-day window, you're back
Okay.
into the quarantine.
I didn't know that.
And
All right.
Can't they still carry, even if they've had it?
That depends on who you listen to.
And we are currently looking at, because we adjusted the quarantining at the secondary level, and again, based on changes, if they change the time in the quarantining, we may be changing our quarantine protocols at the elementary school. Because we really do not want children out of school, but we also want to make sure we can deliver the instruction to them. And, you know, we've been fortunate that, you know, we haven't seen, you know, some of the things that I'm hearing about in other schools, but still, you know, one case is one too many, so, you know, that's why I keep saying, just please, everybody be careful, be smart, don't let your guard down, but begin to enjoy your family safely.
Now I'm done.
Is that all? Public comments? Nobody of this huge group wants to get up and say anything? Okay. The next Board of Education regular business meeting will be held on Thursday, April 8th, 2021 at 8 p.m. Can I get a motion?
Motion.
to adjourn?